Welcome to the King Closer Reacts. Today's episode is going to be bananas because I'm reacting to Mr. TTP, Brent Daniels. And I'm excited because finally the roles have reversed. This man has got to judge me in the 2020 Closers Olympics, the 2021 Closers Olympics. By the way, he gave me the highest score out of anybody. Thank you, Brent. And the 2023 Closers Olympics. So finally, I get to watch Brent talk to a seller and see how he does in closing. Now, I believe this video was taken from a Deal Desk episode he did with Steven Morales, which, by the way, I think we need to get a Steven Morales reaction video on here on the King Closer Reacts. But let's get into it. Let's see if Mr. Brent Daniels is a closer.
Oh,
Hi, is this Lonnie?
yes.
Hi, Lonnie. This is Brent Daniels. You've been talking to my partner about your property there on 6th Street?
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch base and chat with you a little bit about that. I wanted to see if the timeline was right to get you an offer.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
Interesting first question you asked right out of the gate. I wanted to check with you to see if the timeline is correct to get you an offer. I'm curious if he asked that always, or if that was purely based off the information that was provided. This is obviously either one of Steven's deals or Brent's deals, a cold call lead, something where there's information provided to Brent. So interesting first question out of the gates. Not something that I've heard most people ask. So that is a very unique first question.
Great. I've got a little bit of notes on here, but if you don't mind, it says that it needs flooring and repainting. Can you talk to me about that?
Yes. I had a family living in there, and they were not clean people.
Sure.
So what I did was I just ripped all the flooring out of the whole house
Okay.
because it stunk so bad.
Yep.
And then it's been empty for 2 years, kind of what I call fumigating.
Yeah.
Structurally, it's 100% sound.
So I love how you asked that. I see here in the notes, paint and flooring. Can you talk to me about that? Can you tell me about that? Very open-ended, like, hey, I need a lot more information in order to get you that offer that you're requesting. Really loved how you opened that up. And then, as you can see, it's got the seller going. It's Brent's personality. He's going to do a lot of, validating that he's hearing the seller. Yeah. He's got great body language and personality coming through the phone. I always love that about Brent. I think anybody that has been a podcast host or has a social media presence automatically has some sort of an advantage when it comes to talking to sellers, just because they're so used to having to navigate situations with talking to people. And you see that right here. Brent's personality just coming out with the validations, making sure that the seller knows, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm following what you're saying.
Awesome. Okay. What about – no, sorry. Go ahead.
It has all good double insulated windows. Everything is good and solid in the whole home. It just needs new flooring and just needs to be repainted.
And what about the kitchens and bathrooms? Have those been remodeled? Or those updated?
One bathroom is 100% remodeled, and the other one is semi-remodeled. They're both very usable.
Okay.
The kitchen cabinets are all solid oak cabinets. Very good shape. No issues. It has built-in solid oak dressers in the master bedroom.
Yep.
It's about 2,200 square feet, 2-story home. It sits on 2 lots.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a 20 by 40 workshop.
So right now, Brent is very focused on the condition. He did say is now the right time to get you an offer. So what I'm curious to see from here on, is Brent going to try to get a number out of the seller, or is he literally just going to make an offer? Because one of the things that I always am curious about is when is that first number thrown out and how did we get there? And so right now, the timeline he found out, yes, right now is the time the seller wants to sell. It's vacant, obviously, somewhat disrepair. Like you said, they weren't clean people. So he ripped up the flooring and needs paint. Now he's finding out more information. It's a beautiful looking property. And probably doesn't need as much work as a normal 2,200 square foot wholesale property would need. So I'm also curious to see how Brent underwrites this, because right now he's not doing any comping or any valuation of this. So I'm also curious, does he already just have that done and he knows where he needs to come in numbers wise?
Okay. Awesome. And
the workshop is in awesome shape.
The workshop's in great shape. Okay, great.
Absolutely great.
What about just mechanically, roof and the plumbing and
the roof is
heating?
Less than 3 years old. It has 2 central heat and air units, one for upstairs, one for downstairs. They both work great. They're about 6 to 7 years old. They're both RUD units with a scroll compressor. Excellent shape.
Mm-hmm.
Zero issues there. Plumbing has all been updated. Electric has all been updated.
Amazing. Are you looking to sell this thing quick, or are you looking to take some time?
If you brought the right amount of money, I would let you be a proud owner this afternoon.
I love it. What's the right price?
Yeah.
I could not take a penny less than $65,000.
65,000. Okay, got it.
That's correct. Yeah.
And are you just looking around the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Got it. So that's basically kind of what you see online on Zillow or something.
A little negotiable.
Yeah.
If it come to less than that, I'd have to take a bullwhip and meet you half to death, and then we could talk again.
Well, good thing that I'm a big guy. I could take it.
So I love these types of sellers, right? I'm not taking a penny less than 65,000, and then he comes back and he says, I'm a little negotiable. So that's always interesting when sellers say that. Great job by Brent there getting a number out of the seller. The only critique I would make there is we started off by saying we were going to make an offer. There are certain personality types that would have said, hey, you said you were going to make me an offer. I'm not going to give you a number at all. But obviously with this type of seller, this guy is, he's motivated. He wants to sell. He knows what he wants for it. He's not going to play any games. Perfect type of seller, right? This is exactly what we're looking for when we're doing it. Just based off of the number, 65,000, and looking at that house, I don't know where this is located, but man, 65,000 sounds like a really good number just based off of everything that you're getting right there. It seems like that should be a good deal.
No, I'm just looking around at what some of the neighbors are selling for. And I've got really kind of a couple different options, but for a cash as is, where we come in, we just buy it and no inspections. We just buy it and do all the repairs. It looks like your neighbors are closer to like 15,000 in similar condition. Are you seeing that?
Well, when I had this house reappraised, about 5 years ago,
the whole house,
and before I put the tenants in it, I had in it appraised for $138,000. Got it.
Okay. Has there been, I'm just looking online right now as we're talking, Lonnie, and I'm just seeing, some of these other properties that are selling. It's just your neighbors that are kind of dragging down the value of what we could sell for once it's fixed up.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? Let me ask you this. If I can get you our cash price would be more around like 15 to 20,000, but would you be open to taking payments on it?
What kind of payments would you be talking?
So what I typically do, Lonnie, is I look at what I can get for rent and I give you about 60% of that, because, as a landlord, 40% comes off the top for, renovations, repairs, updating, vacancy, all that. So I give you about 60% of what you get in rent, depending on how much repairs need to go into the house would depend on how much the down payment would be. But I could probably get you something decent. We'd have to see the property just to see how much money we'd have to put into those floors. Because let's be honest, that's not a small house.
Wow, what what a creative way to make the seller finance offer there. Hey, would you like to take terms, payments? Seller says what kind of payments, and then he hit them with the 60% of rent. That was unique, based off of like personally, I don't know that I love it. Just trying to think about it. How does he going to calculate that? Does he reverse engineer that to whatever term length that looks like? That's a pretty vague number in comparison to, like, we're not talking about interest rate. We're not talking about term length. And then also, if we're paying out 60% of what we're getting on rent, so say rent's $1,000, we're paying him $600 a month. Does that include taxes and insurance, or is that's going straight to the seller, and taxes and insurance is on top of that? That was a unique way. Very obvious that it's what he normally does, because he had no problem throwing it out. So not saying it's not successful. It's just I'm a little bit more detail oriented when a seller says, what type of payments are you talking about? Now I'm going to open that up before I throw out a number, and we're going to have a more serious conversation about term length. And then I would probably even open up mortgagecalculator.org and then run some numbers based off of what is the most ideal scenario for me. So in that case, I would look up what the rent rate is and then reverse engineer it and say, I can do 20 years at, $412.56, something very specific that I know what those numbers are. So then if there's questions about what is the interest rate, the down payment, and then also curious as to why he said we might be able to get you a down payment. I never bring up the down payment. It's always just, hey, let's do payments. And there is no down payment.
You know what I mean? That's not a small house. So we would put a down payment, give you about 60% of what we could get for rent, do it on either a 5 or 10 year, and then have a balloon payment at the end of it for the rest. Is that
okay? So there you go. He broke that down. So he said 5 to 10 year balloon. So he's probably going to put this on an amortization schedule based off whatever that $600 number is, and then have that balloon at the end. Very interesting way to kind of lay that out. I've never really seen someone do it that way. Although I don't consume a lot of other people's content, actually doing these reaction videos is probably the place I've consumed the most content. But unique way to do it. Let's see what the seller reacts to. I think that's how it's a very fair offer to the seller. If I'm the seller, I'm probably jumping on this.
Something that could be interesting?
I might consider it if you would be up for all taxes. Because
of course.
Payment on the house.
Oh, there is a payment. Okay.
Yeah, there is a payment on the home.
Okay.
And
what is it?
That's where I took a second loan. I refinanced my original loan on the home.
Yep.
And I owe close to $50,000 on the home right now.
See, this is a unique situation here. Brent got into the condition, got a lot of information there. But because he went strictly into condition of the property, instead of opening the seller up to talk about what is important to him, we did not find out all of the information. So now that the seller's opening up, and then also he made the seller finance offer without knowing that there was a mortgage, right? So now we're looking at, this is more of a sub-2 seller finance hybrid or a wrap, and I don't think you want to go the wrap route here. So now this is even more interesting, because instead of saying, hey, can we make payments? This could have been like a $50,000 sub-2, and, he could have negotiated the 15,000 to the seller down a little bit. Again, I don't know what the ARV is on the house, but and I know he's live here, and the way that the deal desk works with Stephen Morales, he just did like a podcast, and then he just rolls right into calling sellers. But I would have rather seen this like be strung out a little bit more questions before we go strictly into like the creative finance route. Because if we had asked more questions, we probably would have found out enough information before we got here. Because now he's going to have to reverse back and say, well, I'm not going to be able to give you 60% of rent plus the mortgage, because then he's upside down on it. So now he's got to talk about, okay, I can make a mortgage, and then I pay the mortgage, explain what a sub 2 is, and then talk about what the payment difference would be for that 15,000. I'm assuming that's how he's going to have to navigate the rest of this conversation.
Okay, got it. What do you know roughly, kind of, with everything in there, with the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, what the payment is?
It's close to $500 a month.
What were you getting in rent?
I was charging just $500 a month. I was basically breaking even.
I understand why you want to sell it, right? Because and then they beat up your house, and you have to put money into it, right?
Right. And see, it took me forever to get the people out of the house.
Sure.
And I went 2 years without a rent payment.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Oh, 2 years during the whole. Oh my gosh, Lonnie. So you were making that payment, and you weren't getting any income coming in.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yes.
Yeah, that is tough. All right, well, let me do this. Let me see if the numbers work. You got a $500 payment. You owe 50,000 on it. Let me put together something creative and see if that makes sense. Is it open? Would you be open to us taking over the loan? Is that a possibility?
If you could take over the loan, I would be taking there for that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that opens up the opportunities as well. So let me sharpen my.
And therefore, you have the guarantee that you could take over the loan. And when I say that, when I said 65, I mean this house. I have it on the historic district.
Right.
It is a very. When I used to live there myself for a long time. And I mean, it was a show place.
Lonnie, I'm looking at it online right now. It's gorgeous. I mean, the outside. I don't know what the inside looks like, but I love the architecture.
Like I said, it needs all new flooring and painted, and then it could be gorgeous again.
Yeah.
What is
fantastic? And you got a double up.
Yes, it has 2 full lots and a 20 by 40 workshop that is in immaculate shape. I
love it. So it just doesn't have any floors.
Well, no, it has the wooden floors in it. It just needs new flooring put on top.
Got it. Is there any way to salvage those floors, or are they beyond?
No. I've already burnt and disposed of all. Now I do have. Now in here, and I would be willing to make a deal on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in the construction business. Okay.
Okay.
And I do a lot of reclaiming and a lot of recycling.
Sure.
And if someone would be willing to put the effort in it, I have about 1,200 square feet of hardwood flooring that basically just needs to be sanded and re-put back down. I would let go with the house.
Comes with the house.
Yeah, I would let that come with the house. So that takes a lot of the cost out of flooring to put. That is hardwood flooring. It's very old, so that makes it even more expensive.
Sure.
So he's letting the seller talk right now, and I always love that, but I do at some point in time. I hope he comes back, because the seller started to say one thing, and then he went a different direction. The seller said, now when I say 65, and then he changed subjects. I'm hoping this isn't one of those bamboozle sellers where he's like, well, I'm talking about 65 to me, and then you got to pay out that 50. I'm hoping what this is it's 65 total, which I think it is. The seller hasn't led me to believe anything outside of the fact of when he said, when I say 65, that's always a concern. I want to hear him say that means it's 15 to me, because I feel like that's where he says I'm a little bit negotiable, right? Maybe we can get that down there a little bit, or postpone when he gets that 15, or that 15 becomes payments and this becomes a hybrid. I hope we get to see that. We're my little bar down here on how long this call is. Looks like we're running out, but I hope we get to see what happens with those numbers.
Sure.
Because you can't buy that anymore.
Sure.
So the hardwood flooring is probably around 60 to 70 years old.
Oh,
and
got it.
Immaculate shape.
Yep.
It just needs to be, re-nailed down and then sanded and refinished.
I have a strong feeling we can do business, Lonnie. I really do. I need to talk to my partner on this. He's more of the creative side. I'm more of the cash, get it done side, right? But with you owing 50 on this, that's obviously not going to work. But I think that we can make something work here and really put something together. Yeah, I like this. Yep.
Now, if you would totally assume and take over the loan,
yep,
and then make me some type of a cash option, then like I say, I have approximate now. Give or take 100 square foot, about 1,200 square feet of very good hardwood flooring that I would let go with the house.
How thick are those planks?
3/4 inch solid oak hardwood flooring.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
It's not the laminated stuff.
I know.
Original.
Yeah. No,
it's stuff that you pay $6-7 a square foot for now.
I know it. What are you? You being in the construction business, what is that costing to put that down? $2, $3 a foot?
Typically, you can get it done around here for $1.50, $2 a square foot.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, perfect. Well, good, Lonnie. Again, my name is Brent Daniels. We're gonna reach back out to you. I'm gonna put something together. Let me make sure that I have your email. Do you work with email? Is it the your G?
Yeah. What do you have?
Got. Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Awesome, Lonnie. Well, I really appreciate it. This is I think we can put something together here. I think it's right in our wheelhouse. All right, we'll talk soon.
Look at those biceps.
Lonnie.
Hey. All right, so a lot to unpack on this call. It was a short 10-minute call, but man, I have so many opinions about what happened there. One, first and foremost, love you, Brent. You are a just top-notch guy in this industry, and a guy that I consider a friend in this industry, and I look up to for everything that you've done and the difference that you've made in so many people's lives. In this call, you could see Brent's skills on talking to people really come out right there. It's a great seller, right? Great seller to have. Makes it a lot easier for the closer to deal with someone like that. However, I would say if like that were on my team and I saw that, I'm going to say this is the reason why we do what we do in the closers formula, because it eliminates some of the unknown during the offer process, right? I just had a video the other day about when do you offer creative finance? And there are triggers for seller finance and there are triggers for sub 2. And because we didn't get there, that's what happened when he made the term offer, the seller finance offer, and then he finds out that there's a mortgage. So then he goes, well, could we do sub 2? And then, work on a hybrid with the remaining balance. Also, I would have preferred to have seen Brent ask a little bit more pertinent questions to the seller's motivation before we got into the condition. So he knew that the property was vacant. He knew that the property was slightly distressed because he said that the people that were living there, they weren't clean people. It smelled real bad. But he found out later on in like the 7th or 8th minute that he hadn't received rent in 2 years. So the flow in which you ask questions also depends on when you are receiving those answers and how you can use those when you start making offers. So he found that out after the offer had already been made and essentially accepted. right? So he couldn't leverage that at any point in time. He never really pushed or leaned on the seller when the seller said, I'm negotiable, right? So what I would have preferred to have seen there is more questions early on, open-ended question. He did a really good open-ended question there at the beginning, but it was specifically about the condition, right? I would have preferred to see more open-ended questions just across the board, not about anything in particular. So that's getting away from the 4 pillars, which I feel like Brent is an advocate for the 4 pillars. So that's partially a difference there. But also during the I'm now going to talk about price, he got the 65,000 out of him. He did a really good job of getting that out. Then he went into the $15,000 comps, which again, I like it, right? He had a motivated seller and the wrong price. So that's the bucket that the seller fell in. He did a little bit of educating there, but we didn't reverse engineer the numbers, right? We didn't say, hey, I'm seeing an after repair value. He was strictly going on as is comps. So that's a little bit different. I always like to bring up, well, this is where we are, and then reverse engineer on where we need to be. So I would have preferred to have seen that. And then I would have liked to have seen a value add from Brent to the seller on the creative finance side to get the seller to come a little bit down from his $65,000 number. I think the seller had already pretty much opened up to us and said that that's a possibility. And so then you're thinking about, okay, sub 2, you're going to assume all the seller was selling him, which is exactly what you want to do. So is Brent a closer? Absolutely, because he got the seller to do exactly what we want to do. The seller was selling him on the property, right? He even added a value add at the end by saying, I will give you 1,200 square feet of hardwood floors. Okay. So the seller was having a value add. Where was Brent hammering home what his value add was going to be to get a little bit more of a discount? That's what I would have liked to have seen there. I think he probably could have gotten that down. He probably could have just locked it up for the $50,000 sub 2. Also, he didn't talk about if maybe it came out. He didn't ask if there was anything in arrears. But assuming there wasn't, I think he could have gotten it for $50,000 and probably $10,000 to the seller, walk away cash. And he probably could have even made that where it's like, hey, let's break up that $10,000 into payments, and he could have reverse engineered that. Done a little bit more research on what the rent rate is. We already knew that the PITI on the sub 2 was $500. And he probably could have gotten it where it's like, hey, I'll pay you a couple $100 to you a month and then walk away. But overall, listen, at the end of the day, Brent is great at what he does, and he has the ability to connect with so many people. I will also say this. I don't know how often Brent Daniels gets on the phone and talks to sellers anymore. This could have been one of the first times he got on the phone and talked to sellers. He has a team that does this for him. So this could have been like the first time he had talked to the seller in like a very long time. If that's the case, then he walked right back into it and he did a great job. I'm being very nitpicky on certain things because I have a very strong opinion on the flow of which questions are asked for a reason. And when I see things like this, it's validation to me saying, see, this is what I'm talking about. If we go through the closer's formula, we avoid certain scenarios inside of that. And it doesn't seem like a big deal because of this seller, because of this result. But we can't look and point at one result. We have to look and say, could this conversation on Brent's side taken place with 1,000 different sellers and been more successful than if we had changed it up? That's where I want just small little tweaks to increase our odds and our abilities to close. But overall, Brent, I love you. I appreciate you putting yourself out there. for me to be able to look at this and everybody to watch you navigate these types of phone calls. I know it's hard doing lives like that, but at the end of the day, man, Brent is one of the guys that is inspired and created more successful wholesalers than anybody else in this industry. So, of course, Brent Daniels is a closer. Man, you guys, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this call and also some of my feedback. Do you agree with me? Do you think that maybe if we had changed up some of the questions there, it could have been smoother and we could have potentially got to an actual signed contract instead of the verbal that we got? Let me know. Make sure you like these videos. And yeah, dude, I'm loving these King Closer reacts. This is a lot of fun. So I'm going to keep doing them. You guys keep showing up, watching them. Let me know what you think. And if you guys have any recommendations of videos that you want me to react to, drop a link in the comments and we'll put it in the queue. All right, guys, we'll see you next week on the King Closer Reacts.